Friends, today we are starting a new sermon series called At the Movies, and because of copyright limitations, we cannot stream this service. So if you're joining us today looking for our worship service online, it's not going to be streamed, but stick around. We have a devotion just for you today. This Sunday, we're talking about the fact that God loves the underdog. In 2022, during the men's NCAA tournament, and I want to make sure I get their name right here, the St. Peter's University Peacocks made a historic run, advancing from the round of 64 all the way to the round of 8. Well, in the round of 16, they faced Purdue, and you can be guaranteed that the only people cheering for Purdue were those that liked Purdue and were fans of Purdue. Why? Because everyone else wanted the underdogs to win. They wanted to see the upset happen. They wanted to see that Cinderella story. As we go into the Bible, we see that our God is a God of the underdogs. We have David versus Goliath. We have Moses versus Pharaoh. And even when it comes to the calling of the disciples, the best of the best were not who Jesus called. It wasn't who anyone expected. As a matter of fact, if you were a young Jewish person growing up in a Jewish town and in a synagogue, you would have been expected to go to school and to learn the scriptures. And most kids would have learned most of the Torah, or at least memorized most of the Torah by the time they were 10 or 12 years old. If you had a lot of academic ability, you could continue on in your schooling, and eventually, if you were kind of the best of the best, you were the cream of the crop, you could go to a rabbi and you could ask that rabbi to be their disciple. And if that rabbi thought you were good enough, that you were qualified enough, then that rabbi would say, "Come and follow me." Well, we read in Matthew's gospel in chapter 4 when he's calling his first disciples, he calls Peter and Andrew off of a boat. They're out fishing. Well, fishing is their father's trade, and so they weren't the best of the best. They didn't make it through all the levels of schooling. They weren't the best, brightest cream of the crop, but Jesus calls them. And he says, "Come and follow me," and they leave their nets and follow him. And as they do, and as they learn, and as they grow in what Jesus is teaching, we know that they change the course of human history. These underdogs were not the best of the best, but they were faithful, and because of that, they changed the course of human history. And so, friends, if you are here today and you're watching this and you feel like, man, there's just not something that I'm great at. I've never been the top of my class. I've never been the smartest or the strongest or the best. Well, friends, you are in good company. God has a way of qualifying the unqualified. God has a way of making our not good enough into abundance. And so, friends, if you find yourself feeling like an underdog today, you are in good company, for indeed our God is a God of the underdog. I'm going to leave a clip for you to watch that should be pretty exciting. It's from a movie back when I was a kid that I really liked, Cool Runnings, and it's an underdog story where Jamaica has a bobsled team and they do so much better than everyone expected, but at the end, they really don't get victory, but they accomplish a lot. These underdogs have a measure of success, and it's really, really great to see. And so again, my friends, we in many ways are all underdogs, but God calls us to greatness and God calls us to abundance. And so where we may be unqualified, God is in the business of qualifying us and sending us out to do his work. And so my fellow underdogs, blessings this Sunday, and we hope to see you next week.